The sky was red. The spaceship Eagle 9 fell from the clouds like a broken bird. Fire surrounded it. Inside, Squad Alpha, a group of 6 trained soldiers, held on for their lives. Lights were blinking, alarms were loud. The pilot shouted, "Brace for impact!" A loud crash echoed across the alien jungle. When everything stopped, there was silence. Smoke rose from the broken ship. Trees around them burned slowly. The squad was alive but barely. Commander Ray, the team leader, stood up with a bleeding forehead. He looked around. "Sound off, who's alive?" One by one, the team responded. Sergeant Vega, the sharpshooter, helped medic Laura out of her seat. Engineer Jin was checking the systems. Private Cole was unconscious but breathing. And LT Harris, the youngest, had a broken arm. They were not safe. Their ship was destroyed, and they were stuck on a strange planet. But then something happened. While searching the area for supplies, Laura heard soft breathing, not from any soldier. It was coming from behind a fallen metal door. She opened it carefully. Inside, curled up in fear, was a young alien girl. Maybe 17 or 18 in human years. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes were glowing green. Her clothes were torn. She looked injured. Everyone froze. Ray raised his gun. "Is she dangerous?" Laura stopped him. "She's hurt. She's scared." The girl tried to speak, but it was just a whisper. No one could understand her language. "She must have been in the lower deck," Jin said. "We didn't see her during the flight." "Is she part of the crew?" Harris asked. Ray shook his head. "No way, we weren't carrying passengers." Silence. Then the girl looked at them with tears in her eyes. She placed her hand on her heart, then pointed at the sky. "What does that mean?" Vega asked. "Maybe she's stranded." "Just like us," Laura replied. "They didn't know her name. They didn't know her story. But they decided to let her stay. They gave her water and treated her wounds." The girl stayed quiet, but she watched them closely. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat much, but she was always listening. That night, as they set up a small camp near the wreckage, something strange happened. Cole, who had been unconscious, woke up and screamed, "Something's out there. I saw it in the trees." The squad jumped up with their weapons. They scanned the dark jungle, flashlights shaking in their hands, but they saw nothing. Then they heard it, a low growl, not human, not animal. Something else. Ray ordered everyone to move back inside the wrecked ship. "No one goes alone from now on." The next morning, they found strange footprints around their ship. Clawed, deep, whatever it was watching them. The alien girl saw the footprints too. She didn't look surprised. Instead, she walked to a patch of dirt and began drawing something with her fingers. The team watched closely. She drew a symbol, a circle with 4 arrows pointing out. Jin's eyes widened. "I've seen that before. That's not her symbol. That's a logo from a top-secret mission Earth did 20 years ago." Everyone stared. How does she know that? The girl stood up and looked at them, her eyes now glowing brighter. She whispered one word in a strange accent, "Danger." Then she pointed at the trees again. That night, Vega stood guard near the camp. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly, he saw movement. A flash of silver in the trees. Then 2 glowing eyes. He fired his gun. The jungle echoed with noise. The squad ran outside, but found nothing. Just broken branches. And Vega's shaking hands. Ray said, "Whatever's here, it's not alone, and neither are we." The alien girl came out slowly. She didn't speak. But she walked up to Vega, touched his arm, and looked into his eyes. He felt calm. The fear disappeared. He didn't know why. But something about her made him feel safe, or maybe just controlled. The others watched, confused. "Who is she?" Laura whispered. "And what is she hiding?" Ray didn't answer. He just looked at the dark jungle dot and said, "We need to survive with her. Or without her." But deep down, even he knew the truth. They were not alone anymore. And the worst part? They didn't know if the alien girl was the danger, or the only thing keeping them safe. The rain fell slowly over the crash site, like the planet itself was watching silently. Thin drops hit the metal surface of the broken ship, tapping like quiet footsteps in the dark. Inside the wreckage, the squad sat close to a small fire, their tired faces glowing with orange light. No one spoke much. They were still trying to understand who or what the alien girl really was. She sat apart from them, back against the wall, knees pulled to her chest. Her glowing green eyes stared at the fire, but she didn't blink often. She looked calm, but not peaceful. There was something distant about her. Something like she was listening to voices no one else could hear. Private. Harris watched her from across the room. His broken arm was tied in cloth, but it wasn't the pain that kept him awake. It was her. He had seen the way she moved, the way she touched things like she knew them already. This planet was supposed to be uncharted, unknown, but she moved through it like she had been born here. He wasn't the only one who noticed. Earlier that morning, Sergeant Vega had followed her when she stepped outside. She didn't speak, just pointed to a group of plants with long red vines. Vega didn't understand at first, until one of the vines moved like a snake and tried to grab his leg. She pulled him back just in time, with a small blade she carried. In her belt, she cut the root with one quick move, and the plant froze like it had lost its mind. How did she know it would work? When Vega asked her, she just tilted her head and placed her hand on the ground. Then she closed her eyes. She seemed to understand the planet in a way none of them did. Later that day, they explored the surrounding forest together. Trees were thick and twisted, and strange sounds came from above the canopy. Birds, maybe, or something else. The girl walked ahead, silent, touching the bark of certain trees, avoiding others. She led them to a clear stream, one they would have never found without her. They drank water. They filled their canteens. It felt like a small win, but not everything was calm. That night, as the team returned to camp, they found something disturbing. One of the emergency boxes, heavy, sealed, unbreakable, had been dragged several meters into the jungle. Deep claw marks covered the metal. Whatever had touched it was strong. Too strong. They followed the trail. It ended at a half-buried stone structure, like the top of an ancient building peeking out of the dirt. The girl stood very still in front of it. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes went wide. Then she whispered a word again, barely loud enough to hear. Home. No one understood. Was this her home? Or someone else's? Inside the stone structure, they found old carving symbols like the one she had drawn earlier. Circles, lines, stars, all connected like a map. But one image was clear, a group of humans standing in a circle, and something glowing between them, a child. Its eyes shined with light, and its body was surrounded by fire. Lieutenant Jin took photos with his damaged scanner. These aren't just drawings, they're warnings. They didn't stay long. Something in that place felt wrong, heavy. As they left, Laura looked back and saw the girl touch the wall gently. Her fingers followed the same glowing lines. And for a second, just a second, Laura thought the wall responded, a soft hum under the surface. Back at camp, everyone was quiet again. The fire cracked. No one could sleep. Around midnight, Harris stood guard, his rifle in hand. He walked a slow circle around the perimeter. And that's when he heard it. A sound like breathing. Not human, not close. Something low and deep, hiding in the trees. He turned fast, aimed his weapon, but saw nothing. And then the whisper came. Not from the forest, not from his ear. From inside his own head. Leave the child. He dropped his gun and fell to the ground, gasping for breath. The others ran to him. But by the time they reached, the voice was gone. When they asked him what happened, he couldn't answer, but the alien girl could. She walked forward, placed her hand on Harris's forehead, and closed her eyes. And for the first time, she spoke a sentence in broken English. "They know we're here." Ray looked at her in shock. "Who knows?" She looked toward the dark jungle and simply said, "The ones who made me." Everything fell silent, because in that moment they realized something chilling. This planet wasn't just hiding monsters. It was hiding secrets. And this alien girl, she wasn't just stranded. She was connected to the planet, to something ancient, and maybe to them. The morning came late, hidden behind thick clouds that never seemed to move. The jungle was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of silence that made your skin cold. The kind of silence that usually came before something terrible happened. Inside the broken ship, the squad was awake, but no one was talking much. The mood had changed. Last night's strange event, Harris hearing a voice inside his head, had shaken everyone. He still looked pale, holding his head, like the voice hadn't left. But it wasn't just him anymore. Laura had a dream. In it, she saw a tall, dark figure standing above her, watching her sleep. It had no face, just glowing white eyes. When she woke up, her hands were shaking, and her heart was pounding. She didn't tell the others at first. She was scared they'd think she was losing her mind. The alien girl, on the other hand, sat in the same spot she always did. Still, silent, watching. Her glowing green eyes moved from face to face, like she was studying them, judging. She didn't say much after last night, but when she did, it was always the same strange thing. "They are watching through you." What did that mean? Jin tried to keep his mind on his work. He was the team's tech expert, and he'd managed to restore part of the ship's memory logs. Most of it was destroyed in the crash, but one file caught his attention. It was marked restricted, level black, and locked with a code that only Earth's top brass could use. He didn't tell anyone. Not yet. Instead, he kept watching the girl. She was different now, more alert, like she had woken up from a dream. Sometimes she would whisper things to herself in her strange language. Other times, she would hum soft melodies that no one had ever heard before, but somehow they felt familiar. Harris once said it sounded like a lullaby. From where? No one could say. Then something happened. During a regular equipment check, Vega noticed something wrong. One of the medical kits was missing. When they searched the ship, they found it behind a broken wall panel torn open. Inside was a used injector and missing samples of blood and DNA scanners. Ray was furious. Who took this? He demanded. No one spoke. Someone here took samples, he said, voice rising. Someone is hiding something. Laura looked confused. Why would anyone take that stuff? We're trying to survive, not play doctor. But Jin's hands were cold now, because in his pocket, he had one of those scanners. And he had used it. Not on the planet. Not on the girl. On the team. Last night when the others slept, something had pushed him, some quiet voice in his mind telling him to scan their blood and compare it to the girl's. And the results? One match, partial, faint, but real. Someone in the squad shared DNA with her. But how was that possible? They had never seen her before, never touched her. They didn't even know her species. Yet there it was written in light blue code on his scanner's screen. One of them was connected to her, and maybe even to whatever she was carrying inside. Jin didn't say anything. Not yet. He needed to be sure. He ran the test again while the others argued. Meanwhile, the girl stood and walked toward the forest. Ray called out, "Where do you think you're going?" She didn't answer. She just raised her hand and pointed to the sky. It had turned dark, not from clouds, but from a strange shape hovering just at the edge of the horizon. A long black object, floating, watching, silent. They didn't have any signal. They didn't know what it was. But they all saw it, The girl turned to Ray and said in broken English, "They wait for mistake." Then she pointed at the squad. 1. Lies. That night, everyone slept with a weapon close. And Jin? He sat alone with the scanner in his hand. The screen blinked softly. Match found. But before he could see the name, the screen went black. Dead battery. Or something worse. He looked toward the sleeping squad. Who was it? Who had the same blood as her? He couldn't sleep. He couldn't speak. Because if the girl was telling the truth, and one of them had a secret connection to her, then nothing about their mission was random. Not the crash, not the planet, not her, and especially not the baby. Time was beginning to blur. The days on the alien planet felt longer now. The sky barely changed. It was always a strange orange-blue color, like it couldn't decide whether to stay day or become night. The jungle around the crash site had grown quiet again, but the silence was no comfort anymore. It felt more like something was waiting, and something was changing. The alien girl wasn't the same. At first, no one noticed. She had always been quiet, distant, strange. But now her steps were slower. She held her stomach sometimes, gently. Like it hurt, she stopped eating, only drinking water. Her eyes no longer glowed green. They had become soft white, like clouded glass. She stopped humming. She started dreaming. Laura was the first to see it. She shared a sleeping area near the girl. One night, the girl sat up straight from her sleep, breathing fast. Her hands were shaking. Her skin was wet with sweat. She looked at Laura like she didn't recognize her. Then she whispered something in a voice so soft it was almost a breath. "He is growing." Laura didn't understand. She tried to ask her what that meant, but the girl had already laid back down, turning her face to the wall. The next morning, Laura quietly pulled Jin aside. "She's sick," she said. "Or something worse, she's changing." Jin was still haunted from what he saw in the scanner days ago, the DNA match. He hadn't told anyone yet, not even Ray, but now this? Later that day, Laura ran a scan on the alien girl. She didn't tell the others. She told the girl softly, "I just want to make sure you're okay." The scanner took a few seconds. It beeped twice. Then the results came on screen, and Laura dropped the device. She stared at the numbers. Then at the girl. The girl only looked down, eyes quiet, like she already knew what the machine had found. She was pregnant. No doubt, no confusion. A life was growing inside her. But the scan said more. It said the fetus had human DNA. Laura's hands began to shake. She scanned again, and again. Same result. This wasn't some alien biology mistake. This was real. The child was alive, and part human. That evening, she told Ray in private. At first, he thought it was a joke. A bad one. Then he got angry. "This isn't possible," he said. "We've been here 2 weeks. She was with us the whole time. None of us touched her." "I know," Laura said. "That's why I'm scared." The news couldn't stay secret for long. By nightfall, the whole squad knew. They stared at the girl with new eyes now. Some in shock, some in fear. One of them whispered, "She was a weapon all along." Ray held his head in his hands. His mind was racing. How could a girl they rescued, who barely spoke their language, who had been terrified and injured, suddenly be the center of something this massive? Who was the father? He asked the girl directly. She said nothing. She only looked at each one of them slowly, like she was remembering something she couldn't explain. Then she pointed at the jungle again. "The sky speaks," she said. "The child listens." No one knew what that meant. Later that night, strange things began to happen. Private Harris was sitting alone near the fire when he heard something inside his head again. A soft sound like a baby heartbeat, but it was rhythmic. Too clear. He pressed his fingers to his ears, but the sound didn't stop. It got louder. Then he heard a word. "Father." He stood up fast and looked around. No one had spoken, but the girl was awake. She stared at him like she had heard the same voice. He ran. He locked himself in the back of the ship, panting, heart racing. He couldn't be the father. He didn't remember anything. He never even touched her. He never even. Then the memories came, flashes, dreams, a blue room, a cold light, a metal table, her face above him. Smiling, he screamed and passed out. Laura found him hours later. When he woke up, he couldn't speak. Only whisper. They put her in my mind. Before the crash. Before all of this. Jin finally confessed. He told them about the DNA scan, about the match. But the strange thing was, the match wasn't Harris. It wasn't Jin. It wasn't even someone alive. The DNA belonged to a soldier who had died before the crash, one who was listed as Kia during a top-secret Earth mission, but whose body had never been recovered. Ray couldn't take it anymore. What the hell is going on? And then the girl stood, her hands glowing with pale light, her voice calm. He's coming. Through me. Everyone froze. She looked down at her stomach, then back up at the squad. The child remembers everything. And then, for the first time, they all felt it. A presence in the ship. Watching. Listening. Growing. The baby was growing fast. Too fast. By the 5th night after the scan, the alien girl's stomach had changed. No longer flat and slim, it now curved outward gently, like the child inside was racing against time. Her skin glowed faintly in the dark, a soft silver pulse beneath the surface, beating like a second heart. The squad had stopped treating her like one of them. They had pulled away, made space, and started speaking in whispers again. Fear was a virus, and it was spreading. But the girl didn't act afraid. She barely spoke at all now. She walked slower, slept less. And when she did sleep, she spoke in a strange language, not loud but firm, like she was giving someone instructions. She didn't seem like a victim anymore. She seemed like someone preparing for something. Harris sat by the fire, staring into the flames. He hadn't told anyone about the memory flashes that still came in waves, memories that didn't feel like dreams, but like buried truth. Sometimes he saw white rooms, bright lights, wires on his body, a cold voice saying, "Subject, prepared." And always the same green eyes looking down at him. Her eyes, the worst part? He started to feel attached, like some invisible thread connected him to the girl and the baby. He didn't understand it, didn't want it. But the more he denied it, the more the child reacted. Every time he spoke near the girl, her stomach glowed. The baby responded to his voice. One night, Ray tested it on purpose. He made Harris talk while the others stayed silent. "Say anything," Ray ordered. "Just speak." Harris hesitated, then slowly said, "This is Private Harris, Unit 47, Human Command." The glow returned, brighter this time. The girl opened her eyes from sleep. Her expression was calm, but her voice was not. "He knows you." Ray stepped back, eyes wide. "That thing inside her is responding to you. Why?" "I don't know," Harris said, shaking his head. "I don't remember anything real, just fragments. They don't make sense." Jin looked pale too. "It's not just you." I ran scans on the fetus again. Its brainwaves are off the charts. It's not developing like a normal child. What does that mean? Vega asked. "It's already conscious," Jin said. "It's thinking." No one spoke after that. The alien girl placed her hand on her stomach and whispered something to the child. The glow faded. But the air around them didn't feel calm. It felt charged, like the child was listening now. Laura tried to stay hopeful. She still believed the girl wasn't a threat. She sat with her the next morning and tried to speak gently. "You're not alone," she said. "We just want to understand." The girl turned her head slowly. "You do not want to understand. You want to survive. Laura was quiet. The girl's voice softened. He was born once before. That made Laura freeze. What do you mean? The girl looked at the trees. In another place. Another time. But they feared him. They burned the world to stop him. Laura stood slowly. Her heart was racing now. She told Ray what the girl said. Ray was done being patient. We need to decide what we're going to do, he told the team. If this baby is some kind of weapon, some kind of experiment, then we have to stop it before it grows any stronger. You mean kill it? Vega asked. Ray didn't say anything. He didn't need to. That night, Harris heard the heartbeat again, but this time it wasn't inside. His head. It was real. Echoed from the girl's body like a signal, steady and powerful, bouncing off the metal walls of the ship. Everyone heard it. Everyone woke up. Then the lights in the ship blinked once, and died. Jin ran to the controls. We've lost all power. No, Harris whispered. It wasn't the system. They all turned to the girl. Her body was glowing now. The light from her stomach filled the room, and then a voice came from the walls. But it wasn't hers. It was the child. The voice was low, gentle, and filled with something ancient. I remember you. The squad stood frozen, guns raised, mouths open. The voice continued. You built me, and then you buried me. You lied to yourselves. Now. I wake again. The alien girl opened her eyes. Her voice overlapped with the child's, like they were speaking together. He has chosen the father. You cannot stop what's already begun. Ray grabbed his rifle. That's it. We end this, now. He raised the barrel, but before he could fire, the ship shook violently. From outside came a sound none of them had ever heard, like metal being torn by wind. Like time itself screaming. They ran to the door, and in the sky above them, a ship hung in silence, giant, black, not human. And not alone. Figures were dropping from it. Slowly, floating. Coming for the girl, coming for the child, and maybe for the father. Asterisk. The sky didn't move. The black ship hung in the clouds like a shadow with weight, as if it had always been there, waiting for the right moment to return. Silent, massive, watching. No one on the squad spoke. They stood frozen outside. The wrecked ship, staring at the floating giant above them, their rifles useless in their hands. The figures that dropped from the belly of the craft weren't soldiers. They weren't machines. They were something in between. Tall, smooth-skinned, no eyes, only long limbs and masks that looked grown rather than worn. Each step they took toward the jungle floor bent the air like heat. And they made no sound, not footsteps, not breath. Just movement. Ray whispered, contact command, now. Jin held up the broken transmitter. We're cut off. The alien girl didn't move. She stood in front of the squad, between them and the falling shadows, her white eyes glowing again, not with fear, but understanding. She turned her head slightly toward Harris, her voice as soft as ever. They are not here to kill me. They are here to take him. The squad looked at Harris. He shook his head, backing up. No, I don't know them. I'm not part of this. But part of him, deep inside, knew she was telling the truth. That night, the squad barricaded the ship. The jungle outside was still, too still. The figures had disappeared into the trees, as if the planet itself swallowed them. Everyone took turns watching the doors. No one slept. Harris sat in the medical bay, sweating, shaking. The heartbeat had returned, in his chest now, like a second rhythm, layered beneath his own. Every few minutes, the child's voice whispered. Inside his skull, you knew me once. He didn't know what it meant, or maybe he did, because the memories were no longer dreams now. They were coming in flashes, faster, clearer, waking up on a table, needles, wires in his arms, faces behind glass. Men in uniforms. A name whispered again and again. Project Silencer. In the command room, Jin had found something hidden deep inside. The ship's data logs, a backup memory, encrypted, buried under a layer that wasn't supposed to be touched. But the crash had damaged the security layers, and now the files were visible. What he saw made his blood go cold. He played the file over and over, hoping it was a mistake. It wasn't. The footage showed a dark lab. A younger Harris strapped to a chair, eyes open but vacant. Across from him sat the alien girl, though younger, much younger. And not afraid. She was smiling. A voice behind the camera spoke. Subject 47 shows perfect compatibility. Neural link stable. Cross-species bond confirmed. Begin implantation. Jin backed away from the screen. Ray walked in and saw the frozen image. Harris and the girl, side by side, connected by a glowing thread of light between their heads. What is this? Jin turned pale. They did something to him. Before the mission, maybe before he even joined this squad. Laura stepped in next, already guessing what they were seeing. They erased his memory. Ray clenched his jaw. And sent him here as what? A test subject? A father for something they made. In secret? Jin shook his head slowly. No, worse. They sent her here, carrying him. Back in the medical bay, Harris stood in front of the mirror. His eyes were bloodshot. His skin was colder now. The baby's heartbeat was louder than his own, and then he remembered it all. He remembered the day they took him. Volunteered, they told him. Earth needed soldiers who could do more, who could be more. They told him he was being trained for deep planet combat. That he'd be connected to an AI for reflex control. It wasn't AI. It was her. She wasn't a stranger. She was his pairing unit. The first successful match between human and alien thought. He was designed to bond with her. To create through her. And the child? The child was the result of Earth's deepest military experiment. Not just a hybrid, but a new species. Not fully alien, not fully human. Something evolved. Something they hoped to control, but something they now feared. Ray paced the command room. We were never supposed to survive the crash, were we? This wasn't a mission. This was a cover-up. Jin nodded slowly. And now the ones who built her, they've come to reclaim what we tried to hide. The alien girl sat in the quiet. Again, hands on her stomach, the baby inside her moved. The glow now reached her chest, her neck, her arms. Harris stepped in, eyes locked on her. This time he didn't step back. I remember now. She nodded without smiling. It is almost time, she said. Ray entered behind him. You still have a choice. We can stop this. We can stop them. The girl finally looked up, her face blank, her voice distant. No, you cannot stop what you already started. She looked past them all and said one word. He's awake. Outside, the sky turned dark, not from night, but from the ship and the sky opening. And far in the distance, the jungle began to burn. The fire was not natural. It moved across the jungle like a living thing, fast, precise, and almost silent. The trees didn't burn all at once. They fell in patterns, like something was clearing a path. From the high ridge, the squad could see the glowing red trail cutting straight through the forest, heading toward them. But it wasn't the fire that frightened them. It was what walked inside it. Tall shadows, dozens of them. The same creatures that had fallen from the black ship. Their faces were smooth and blank. Their movements didn't match gravity, like they floated a few inches above the ground. They never spoke. They only moved forward, slow, steady, patient, because they knew where she was. Inside the broken ship, the alien girl sat on the floor. She was no longer glowing softly. Her body now pulsed with bright, silver-white light, steady and loud, like a beacon calling across the stars. She wasn't scared. She looked peaceful, like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. Harris knelt in front of her, his hand trembling slightly as he reached out. Not in fear, in recognition. In acceptance. He knew now that his mind, his memories, had been split in half, one life as a soldier, and another buried deep inside her. He was part of her, and part of the child. The others watched from a distance, rifles raised but hands frozen. Ray stood near the entrance, eyes hard, jaw tight. His orders were clear. If things went out of control, they were to clean the site. No witnesses, no traces. Nothing that could make it back to Earth. He was starting to believe that maybe he'd been sent here not to rescue the team, but to bury it. We don't have time, he said. If they take her, we don't know what happens. That baby. It's not just a child. It's something else. Something made. Laura stepped forward. It's still alive, Ray. It didn't ask to be made. It's a weapon. It's also her child. It's not hers, Ray snapped. It's ours. Earth's, built from human tech and alien biology. The product of a failed program. And failed programs get shut down. Jin looked up from the terminal, his face pale with realization. You're wrong. The baby isn't the failure. We are. Outside, the creatures had stopped moving. They formed a circle around the crash site, standing still, like statues of bone and metal. Then, slowly, they began to hum, not with voices but with vibrations. The ground itself joined them. A low sound, like the planet had started breathing. The girl stood. Her light filled the ship. Brighter than ever. The shadows cast by the crew stretched long across the metal floor. Her hair moved like it was underwater. Her eyes were pure white now, no pupil, no iris. Just light. She looked at Ray and spoke not in English, not in her native tongue but in something deeper. Something that each of them understood. You must decide. I cannot stop them, but I will not harm you. You must decide. Harris stepped beside her. We stay with her. Ray raised his rifle. We leave now, or we all die here. The squad split. Laura stepped beside Harris. Then Jin. Vega hesitated. Ray looked around, heart racing, panic rising. You're choosing her? Over us? Over Earth? We're choosing what's right, Laura said softly. Not what we were told. Ray didn't lower his gun. He walked toward the girl. She didn't move. Her eyes glowed. Brighter. Ray's finger moved to the trigger. And then the child spoke. Not through her lips, not through the air, but through everything. The lights flickered. The ground cracked. The sky blinked. And the voice echoed. I do not belong to your world. Ray dropped to his knees, holding his head, eyes wide with something between terror and awe. You built me from your fear. You grew me in silence. You buried me in secrets. But I remember. Outside, the creatures all raised their heads. Stepped back. They weren't here to fight. They were here to guard. The light inside the girl exploded outward, not heat, not fire, but something deeper. A pulse of memory. A wave of truth. And then silence. When the team opened their eyes, the ship above had vanished. The creatures were gone. The jungle was still. The girl lay unconscious in Harris's arms. But she was breathing. So was the child, Ray. Had disappeared. All that remained was his gun on the ground. Week passed. Another. Then a signal finally reached them from Earth Command. Rescue ship landed quietly. They told the squad. We found no signs of the crash data. You are officially listed as survivors of an unknown incident. You are ordered not to speak of the child. Harris looked at the ship. Then back at the girl. They lied once. They would lie again. So he made his choice. He left with her. 5 years later. A kofo. They lied once. They would lie once. They would lie again. So he made his choice. He left with her. 5 years later. A small child runs through a field on a quiet green world, chasing the light. His eyes glow white. His laughter echoes. Harris watches from a distance, older now. Wiser, Laura stands beside him. He's not just the future, she says. Harris nods. He's the truth they tried to erase. The child looks back, smiles, and the stars blink above like they remember him too.